Hey everybody, so welcome to week 5, so episode 5 of our Technique Tuesday series. And today we are going to look at stenciling. Now, I'm trying not to teach you how to do things you already know, but this is a really good way for me to do like a little refresher, show you all the different ways of how you can use your stencils, and to show you how to do reverse stenciling. Now, if you've watched my videos and my lives, you will probably have seen me do this without even thinking about it, because it's just one of those things that I do quite often. But I forget that we've got lots of new crafters who maybe don't know all the different ways you can use stencils. So hopefully I'm going to get through a couple of different techniques today. I've die cut 9 including the black one, of these fancy label shapes. I'm told you I'm using the same one as often as I can. I will use the same set so you know which one it is. And eventually I'll end up with loads and loads of these as fabulous backgrounds to do and toppers to do some cards with when I eventually get time. This is the Lead Differently collection Elegance Rectangles, just so you know. Now we've had a couple of questions from people, which is fabulous. Keep them coming. Always, if you have any ideas or you want me to show you something specific, send me a private message on the Sentimentally Facebook page, or email Karen. She keeps a list of everything, and I always have a quick gander at it when I'm at the shop. So there's a lot on my mat. Lots and lots of different ways you can use stencils. They are one of the most cost-effective, versatile products ever. These two that I'm going to use today are new ones that I'm releasing with the Florascript stamp collection. So I thought I'd focus on these because these are new and it gives you some nice fresh designs to work with. So lots and lots of different things. I've got some of my chalk paint, some of my metallic paint, some of my luster powders, my texture medium, my gritty texture medium, white gesso, 2 distress ink pads, and the new white texture sand. Now, I used the white texture sand on the patina video last week, and it wasn't available at that stage. It is now available on the website, so if you want to treat yourself to it, it's only, I think it's about a £5. This is not normal sand. This is proper crafting sand, and it's a really gorgeous texture. It's a perfect texture, and it's white, so it will take the colours for the things that you mix it with really, really well. It's not garden sand, just so you know, and it's well worth having one of these little pots because they're handy to mix with everything. So the white texture stand is under the paints and mediums or whatever on the website. You will find it. I'll pop a link in the description of this video as well. So when I was prepping for this, I thought, right, let's do a colour theme. So you can see we've got pink and green as the theme. So I've got different products to use through the stencils, but all in a pink and green theme. I just thought it would look nice when I take the photos later. So we're going to start with the basics. Now this is super simple. We're going to use it. I'll use this one. We're going to use it with just ink pads, which is generally what most of us use our stencils for. It's just the easiest way to add a little bit of texture, a little bit of colour to your projects. Now I'm going to do this not on one of my fancy shapes. I'm going to do it on a little bit of square card, a little bit of card, well, an A4 piece of card, because one of the questions we've been asked is how to extend your stencils, how to extend the design, and this is the easiest way for me to show you. I mean, realistically, you probably 8x8 is probably the largest size you're going to do, but it also means that any of your smaller stencils that have a repeating pattern, you're going to be able to extend them to fit. So what do we need to do this? I'm going to do a 2-tone effect just because we can. So I'm going to do the spun sugar. This is spun sugar and bundled sage. And so what do we need? So to apply the inks, I've got a couple of smoothies here. I've had these for, well, years and years. You don't have to use smoothies. You can use cut and dry foam. You can use blending brushes. You can even use kitchen sponges. In fact, I've got one here that I use for my dirty jobs. So you can even use a kitchen sponge and just chop it up. And these are so inexpensive, you could probably just throw them away. But I'm using the smoothies because that's what I've got on my mat. So let's just lay a little bit of colour down. I'm not going to do it neat. I'm just going to show you how to extend the pattern. This is all this demo is for, extending the design. So this is a 6x6 stencil. If I wanted it on an 8x8 piece of card, you would start off the edge just like so. And in fact, let's do that. Let's just do that. So I'm just going to apply some of this spun sugar. I'm not doing it perfectly. It's just to give you the idea. So I'm just I'm just rubbing some ink through this stencil. So if you're doing a full background, for example, you would do this and repeat it. Now I'm not securing my stencil down. I never do. If you're not confident at this, I mean, I'm literally just holding it with my hand, as you can see. But if you're not confident with this, let me just give you a little tip. So let's just give you a little tip, and I can't take credit. I mean, look how fabulous that is, just in a little bit of pink. I can't take credit for this because Barb does it, Barbara Gray, and she creates like a little hinge, which I think is marvellous. It's a really clever idea. So she would hinge the top of the stencil to whatever work surface she's working on, yeah, and then you can just lift it. I've obviously not gone in far enough, so let's just hinge that down, and then you can just lift it and then put it back in place. I've obviously not used enough tape, but there you go. But that's a really good way of doing it. I don't stress too much. Now I'm going to extend this, so let's go all the way along. This is why repeating patterns are so good in stencils. I'm literally, look, just going to line up where I've already been and extend that pattern. Let's see if we can come even further. I can. So we're just moving it along, lining it up, and we'll extend this design. Just make sure you've got going up, down, just so that it follows the design properly. So let's just get that on. I won't do the whole thing. It's just to give you the idea. So now we've taken a 6x6 stencil and we've almost filled the top half of an A4 piece of card. It's a good way to use your scraps, this as well. So we've now extended the pattern, look, and we've made it fit a bigger piece of card. So that is how easy it is to just use inks through it. I just hold mine in place. If you've got dexterity issues, it's probably worth just securing it with a little bit of Scotch removable tape. And now I'm going back in, and this time I'm going to do, this is something that I like to do, I'm just going to make sure I've got the right colour green on here. I've got lots of different shades of green on this smoothie. So let's just make sure it's the bundled sage that's coming through. Yeah. So what I'm going to do is I'm literally just going to flick from the side. So I'm not trying to cover the pink. I'm just adding a little bit of the bundled sage. I think I've got a bit of mowed lawn on here, but it'll be fine. And this is where you can start to have fun with inks. So if I just bring that in, oh, that's lovely. If I just bring that in and show you, look. We've now got a two-tone effect going on. And you can do this with as many colours as you like. Let's just do a little bit more. Let's just line that back up. This is why you'll notice when I do my stencils, I tend to do repeating designs because I see lots of value in this, in all the different ways you can use it. So I'm not covering all the pink, look. I'm literally just flicking from the side. So I'm trying to just catch small areas of this. And then, of course, you can see what's happened. We've got all this ink left over on the top of the stencil. Now, this is what we mean. Oh, look how gorgeous that looks. How beautiful is that? So this is what we mean by reverse stenciling. So reverse stenciling, you can do it with all of my mediums, all of my paints, all of my powders, all of my pastes, everything. It's brilliant. So if I want to do a coordinating negative, i.e. reverse stenciling, this is how to do it. I'm just getting a drink of coffee before we start. So there's not much pink left on that stencil, so let's just add a little bit more. Let's just put a little bit of pink straight onto the stencil. There we go. So I've just gone straight onto the stencil with the sponge sugar. I'm going to give it a couple of sprays with water. Now, personal preference is how much water you put on. I quite like the watery effect backgrounds we get, so I'm going to put maybe 3 or 4 sprays on this. So 1, 2, 3, 4. Yeah, that might be enough. We shall soon find out. And then because this is a distress oxide, what's happening is it's reactivated the ink. So we've got 2 choices. Let's see if I can do it. I'm not standing up, so let me just see if I can do it. So I'm just trying to line this up. It's a little bit rough, but you'll get the idea. So I've gone back in. Yeah, I didn't put enough water on, but I've gone back in, look, and we've now got watery bundled sage on the inside. Let's add a little bit more ink. So we've basically gone around the design. I was a little bit off there, but you can see the idea, look. A little bit it gives the main design as the colours you put on, and it gives you the negative impression. So let's just do that again on a little bit at the bottom, just so you can see the difference. I really should get a little bit of kitchen roll to squash that down. So let's just squash that down. Lift that off. And there we've got a negative reverse impression of the stencil in the same 2 colours. So we've got the positive, which is the inks. We've got the negative, which is, if I'd have positioned it and put enough water on, it would be like that in between it all. And then we've got the reverse, which is the waste. So all 3 of those different techniques are fabulous. So that's 1 way. Well, that's 3 ways. So let's tidy this up. We're going to move on from inks because I want to show you all the other things as well. And I'm not very good at 30 minutes, as you know, but we shall see. We shall see. So let's just clean my mat. I like to clean as I go. I'll clean the stencil also. So with inks, especially with distress oxides, you can literally just wipe them over with a wipe. Just remember to take the excess water off before you start using it again. Let's dry that up. And let's move on to texture paste. So texture paste is what we're moving on to. And this is my favourite thing. My favourite thing, because it's just so many different creative ways you can do this. And remember also, and in fact I'm not going to tell you, I'm going to show you. So we've got the 6x6 stencil, yeah, which is just shy of this design, but it means I can line up the design look in between, and I know that it's more or less perfect. So texture paste, I've got 2 different texture pastes in our range. We've got the texture medium and we've got the gritty texture medium. We're going to start with the regular texture medium. In fact, I'm going to do the black first. Because this is where dark coloured cardstock and stencils and texture mediums start to look really rather glamorous. So let's just line that up. And I'm going to go straight in with the texture medium. I'm doing nothing with it. I'm going straight in. And again, so one of the questions we've been asked is, how do you stop the paste from going underneath the stencil? Again, you can see that I'm not securing the stencil down, but that is the way to reduce the risk of that. Tape your stencil down. And then the biggest tip I can give you is to do long strokes with the texture medium. So don't do none of this faffing little tiny strokes. do long strokes, and that reduces the amount of times your spatula is connecting with the stencil and the card, and therefore it reduces the risk of getting it where you don't want it. So I'm going to fill the whole thing in. We may as well do it properly now we're doing it. So I'm doing this on black just because it's more visual for you to see with the cameras. This technique, this just plain texture medium, yes I did talk then, onto any coloured cardstock looks fabulous because it dries glossy and transparent like glass, and it looks amazing. So I did go a little bit off the edge there, but let's just get that off. So this is, that will bug me. Let's just try and get that off. I mean, it's only a little sample piece to show you, but you know how fussy I am. So we're going to leave this to dry, and what happens is this is going to dry completely transparent like glass. Before we do that, I'm just going to clean my stencil. You can see I'm using kitchen roll. I'll use a lot of kitchen roll for this. Don't leave the texture medium to dry on your stencil. Wipe it off straight away because it's harder to clean once it's dried. So it's much better to do it straight away. Or as Julia used to do, she used to have a little bucket or a bowl on the floor with warm soapy water in it. She used to chuck hers in. Now at this stage, look, you can see it's curling, but that will flatten out. I'm just going to put some glitter on the bottom half of this. So if you put this on whilst it's still wet, the Diamond Dazzle or the Diamond Snow, whichever glitter you're using, will stick to the texture medium, and you will end up with that fabulous design, but just glittered. So it will be transparent and glittered. So we'll pop this over to one side and we'll leave this to dry. We'll leave that to dry naturally whilst we move on to mixing. So you can't see the results of that until it's dried, and it should hopefully be dry by the time we've finished this demo. Right, we're going to move on now to other ways of using your texture medium. So let's move on to paints. So as you know, or if you don't know, we have two different ranges of paints. We have the metallic paints and we have the chalky acrylic paints as well. They're both acrylic, chalky and metallic. So we'll do metallic first. So two different ways you can use this. You can, well, actually more. There are more ways. Oh, I'm never going to be able to show you everything on this demo, which is a shame. But you'll get lots of ideas for this. So two different ways you can use this. To start, we'll do the same thing again. So we're going to stencil through using our little stipple brushes. I'm not going to do the whole thing because we're going to do these as a tale of two halves. So we'll do the top half stippled. So I'm literally just stippling the metallic paint through. This one's called Coral. So I'm literally just stippling that through. And these paints are really highly pigmented. You don't need a lot. Let's just do the top half. So I'm just doing this randomly because we are going to mix it with the green. We are going to fill it in with the green. So two-tone again. And I'm not going to clean this pink off before I move on to the green. I'm going to leave it on. Right, so move that to one side. Pop the green on, and this is Lime Crush. You can actually see the pearlescent sheen on these paints just already. So let's just take a little bit out of the lid. These are just little cheap stipple brushes, and I've been using these for ages, as you know. So I'm going to stipple in the gaps. So I'm doing the gaps first. I'm not worried about it overlapping at all, but I'm filling in the gaps first before I do any overlaps. So this is with paints, and this is why I love these paints. I love all my paints, you know I do. Whether it's the metallic or the chalky, it just depends what effect you want on the day or the projects that you're working on. So I'm just filling in the gaps first. That's a top tip. And now that my gaps are filled in, I'm just going to do a little bit of blending where they overlap. So where they overlap, we're just going to do a little bit of a blend. Like there it overlaps, and I can see any white bits, we're doing a little bit of an overlap. So we will end up with a couple of gorgeous shades on this. I think that will probably do. So let's just pop that to one side. In fact, I don't need these again, so I'm going to put them in my water brush, in my water pot. So we're going to lift that off, and we've now got, look, a gorgeous pearlescent sheen from the paints. However, we've not done yet. This little bit of paint on here, we're not going to waste it. So we're going to do the same thing again. Now there's a couple of ways you can do this. So you can put your stencil back on, well, mist it with water, then put it back on, and then use your stipple brushes to go through, and that will give you a different colour where the two paints have mixed. Or you can do what we've just done, which is what I'm going to do. I'm going to mist this with water. Let me just do it over here. Oops. That was 8 or 9 mists, yeah? And then it's obviously not going to be full on because we've only got paint in certain areas. And then we're going to press that down. So we're going to get the negative. Obviously I'm not going to use this topper, this is just to show you the technique. So I'm pressing down with a bit of kitchen roll, and then we'll lift that off. And then what we've got, well actually I could go again and again and again, that's how pigmented these paints are. So we've got the negative impression now, look. The reverse impression in the same colour palette. How fabulous is that? And can you see all that lovely mica still coming through from the paints? And if I can probably do this again, let's just put this to one side. I'll just do it on this kitchen roll because I'm not going to use it again. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. Yeah, that's 8. That's probably enough. I should do this on a scrap of card. Let's do it on here, because these are all backgrounds that you can die cut from. How gorgeous is that? That could probably go again, everybody, but I won't because we'll get bored. So metallic paints are really good for using through the stencils. It's not just about painting grey board and things like that, it's mixing it with other products from the range. I'll just do it on here. And this is the other way you can do it, look. You can move the colour through using a baby wipe, or a wet wipe, or a water wipe, or a wet cloth. So that is the metallic paint. And then we'll move on to the chalky paints. Yeah, that's dry enough. I'll save that. Not wasting it. So we'll use this one and we'll move on to the chalky paints. So this time we're going to use them in a slightly different way. We're going to do the same stencil and we're going to use the chalky paints. Now you can stipple through with the chalky paints in exactly the same ways I've just done. And what you will end up with is a chalk effect finish rather than a metallic finish. But this time we're going to start mixing. So we're using the texture medium. And I'm just going to do the top half with this. And I need 2 little separate compartments, 2 little separate areas, look, for the different colours. Yeah. Massive tip this, do not get anything in your texture medium pot, because if you get any little bit of paint or any bit of colour into these, the texture medium will absorb that colour and it will change the whole pot. so don't get anything in it. So we're going to change the colour of this texture medium. Now on the black one, which is now starting to dry, look, we know that this is going to be transparent and glossy. What if you don't want a transparent glossy finish? What if you want a matte chalky colour finish? Well, these paints will do that for you. So by using the chalk paints with the texture medium, you are, let me just grab another spatula, you are going to change the consistency. You're going to change the consistency and the actual way that the texture medium works. So just remember, when you're adding a liquid to a liquid, don't go too mad. So let's just have a little bit more. So if you're adding something that's liquid to another liquid, don't put too much in. Remember, these paints are highly pigmented, so you only need a bit. I don't know why I'm messing about like that, because we're only doing the top half. So let's just mix this together. So we're now changing the colour of the texture medium, which basically means if you've got any of my chalk paints, any of them, or any of my metallic paints, you can create as many colours of texture medium as you like, yeah? So let's just use this up. And then we're going to repeat that with the green. So we've effectively made our own texture medium there, which I think is fabulous. And then we're going to do the same with the green colour. So the chalky pink that I've just used is warm cerise. I'm just going to get a little bit more because I want to do a negative as well. And the green is soft pistachio. So same thing again. Don't contaminate your texture paste pot. Make sure that's clean. Just drip some of that on. That's probably enough. And then mix it in. If it's liquid into liquid, use less. It's just clever. And what also happens is this will dull the effect. So the chalk content and the paints will dull the effect of the glossiness from the texture medium, which I think is really clever. So let's just make sure that's mixed properly. I've got pink all over my fingers, and then we'll just do some going over and mixing it up. So we will get the sage going over the top of the pink. Not everywhere, just in areas. And then what happens is, like I say, that's probably enough. The content of chalk in the paints will reduce the glossiness from the... oh, look at that, it's absolutely stunning. So you can see it's still shiny at the moment. So we'll pop that to one side and leave that to dry. Everything is drying slowly but surely. It generally takes about 20 minutes. 20 minutes at room temperature for the texture medium to dry. So I've just squirted that with water before I clean it. And then we're going to do, how long have I been? 29 minutes already. I'm just hoping this is giving you some ideas. Oh, look at that, that's gorgeous. We're going to do a couple more things because I want to show you the texture sand in with the texture medium, and that you can change the colour of that as well, which is just awesome. I've been trying to get a texture sand for so long, and I've had so many samples. When I say I've probably had 30 or 40 different samples from different companies, I'm not exaggerating. And they all say, oh, it's white sand, it will take the colour. Believe you me, they're not all the same. I've tested so many. I'm just cleaning my mat. You know, I like to be clean as I go, which is why I use kitchen roll, because it stops me having to clean my mat as often. Right, so now we're going to move on. In fact, let's do the other stencil. We've not done the dotty one. Let's do the shabby dots. The shabby polka. Let's do the shabby polka. And we're going to move on now to the gritty texture medium. And there's a cup and the radiant luster powders. So let me just tell you the difference, because there's a massive difference between the metallic paints and the radiant luster powders. So the radiant luster powders, the obvious difference is that these are powders and that's a paint. So this is a liquid. This is a powder, which basically means you can add more and more and more to the texture medium. So you can get really strong, intense colours by using the powders. With the paints, the more you add, the more liquid the paste gets. So it negates it. There's no point in doing it. But with the powders, if you want a really, really deep cerise, oh, this is Orchid Whisper, you can just add more powder. Just remember, you're changing the consistency. So let's do that, and we're going to do it with two different pastes. We're going to do it first with the gritty texture medium. Now, if you haven't got a pot of this in your stash, treat yourself. So the gritty texture medium, I'm just going to show you, is completely different to the normal texture medium. The normal texture medium is the one on the left, the gritty is the one on the right. So you can see already that the gritty is a different colour. It will dry this colour unless you mix something with it, yeah? And it has a super fine particle of sand in it. It's a very, very fine grit. And I did that on purpose because it gives you just enough texture without it being too much. But now we have the opportunity with the white texture stand to make this even more textured. It's awesome. So we're actually, I feel a bit like a chemist. We're actually going to mix 3 different products together now. This is how fab this is. Let's see if I can get it all on this mat. So we're going to start with the gritty texture medium, and I'll do, that's probably enough for this stencil. In fact, it's probably too much. So I don't know whether you can hear that. You can actually hear the grit in it. Now it's very, very fine. So if you're wanting it to be fine, don't add any more. But we're going to add a little bit of the white texture sand to this. Just a little bit. And then mix it up. So this will now give us even more texture from a paste. You can actually see that, look. Can you hear it? You can actually hear that. I'm just going to bring that in and show you. It's almost like cement. It's so clever. So clever. But the grit and the texture is mixed in with the paste. So we know that when it goes through a stencil, we know that when it goes through a stencil, it's going to stay where it's supposed to do. And now we're going to add a little bit of colour to this with the luster powders. So really important for me to tell you, when you use these with water, they are mica based. They have mica powder, they have pigment powder, which is where you get the intensity of colour, and they also have a built-in fixative. So the luster powders themselves you can use with water, you can make your own spritzers with them, you can watercolour with them, but when you mix them with this, they will lose the luster, and what you will end up with is just the colour. So let's see how much we need. Let's see how much we need. So, oh, there you go, look at that. So we are now changing the colour of a gritty texture medium. It's unheard of. This is not normal, everybody. This is just fabulous that you can do this. So we've now gone from that lovely Orchid Whisper dark cerise colour, and I've made my very own pale pink gritty texture medium. How clever is that? And if I want it a little bit stronger, let's just add a little bit more. Just remember when every time I add powder, I'm drying this product out. So you might want to just do, in fact, I'm not going to do it from the sprayer. I'm going to just drop. I'm just going to drop two drops of water. Or I am if it decides to play. 1, 2, there we go. Now watch the colour get stronger. Look at this. It's so clever. So we've now got a darker shade of pink. And if you've watched the patina video, where I said to you, you can just add texture to whatever you want. So if you've got air dry clay, you've got molds, if you've got grey board, if you've got metal embellishments, the gritty texture medium is going to be awesome. So let's just run that through. You can actually hear the sand, you can see it. It's just so clever. So clever. So I've obviously only done a little bit for the tops. You would need to make enough for your whole project. Yeah. I'm not going to mix the two colours together. I'm going to do the bottom in the other colour. Just trying to fill that hole. Could have done with just a little bit more. I think I was on a budget. Yeah. So look at that. How fabulous is that texture? So what I'm going to do before I lift the stencil off is I'm just going to stipple this. Oh, you didn't know I could do Artexing, did you? So I'm just stippling this paste that's on the stencil before I lift it off. And then what we will end up with, oh, this looks so good. I'm going to see if I can get really close for you to see this. Can you see, look, all that texture we've created? And that is because we've added the extra sand, and it will dry exactly like that. That's because we've added the extra sand to an already gritty texture medium. Now let's just see what happens if we do a negative with this. It might not work. I've never done this before, so this is a test. Oh, I really don't want to waste that. I wished I brought some grey board in there. So let's just do a couple of sprays and let's see what happens. That was 6 sprays there. I'm going to stop in case I make it too wet, but let's just see what happens. See if I can get this. I don't know whether this will work or not, but crafting is supposed to be fun. So let's just press that down with the bit of kitchen roll. If it works, fabulous. If it doesn't, no harm. No, it didn't work, but my word, look how good that looks. So it didn't work, but it looks really rather good. I'm just going to do the bottom half as well, because I'm going to use this. I am going to use that in a project. See, we can do Artexing. Oh, that's so lovely, look. And that's just waste. So that texture is literally from the waste. And the reason we didn't get the actual dotty finish is because this has got the sand content. So let's just use this. Let's just use this instead of wasting it. So let me just get a brush. Let's see if this brush is still that's too wet. Let's just do it with this brush. So I'll just mix that with water, and then we'll brush that through. So this is waste, remember. So I am brushing it through this time. And I already know that you probably can't see from there, but I already know that this is going to look good. You can actually see, look now, that most of the sand has been brushed through. Look at that. Oh, I'm having a lovely time. So the difference is this is a little bit flat. This one has lots and lots of texture, and that is just waste, which is just amazing. Oh, I forgot to do the green. Oh, I was having too much fun. Too much fun, but there you go. So we're going to do one other thing. So I'm just going to clean this. I'm going to do one more thing because I'm aware that I'm now on 40 minutes. I told you I wouldn't get everything done. I might have to do a stenciling part 2 because there's just other things that I need to show you as well. Love that sand. Absolutely love it. I'm so glad that I persisted in getting one that's a really good quality because it makes a huge difference. And the look is completely different to the regular texture medium. And for the price they are, it's worth having them in your stash just so you've got them. So let's just get rid of all this. And then I'm going to show you one more thing with the luster powders, and I'll do it with the green this time because I didn't get to use it on that last one. So the luster powders with texture medium and with gesso, right? So we're mixing again because we've got lots of different ways to mix things. It's so much fun. This is why I said at the very beginning of the video, stencils, for how cost effective they are are just one of the best products ever for us as crafters. Let's carry on with the dotty one. Let me just dry it. So we're now going to use the original texture medium, which is the one we know that dries glossy. Well, I've got all these little bits everywhere. It's lovely. Let me just show you the black. Are you ready for... Oh no, I'm going to show you at the end. I'm going to make you wait till the end. So we're now going to bring in the regular texture medium, the white gesso. So the regular texture medium, the white gesso, and we will use the green luster powder, which is olive. Now the olive in particular is fabulous because when it's wet, it has gold and copper undertones. So it's a beautiful, beautiful like mixture of olive green, gold, and a little tint of copper. So if we wanted, let's do two-tone again. Let's do a two-tone effect. That's going to dry like that as well. I'm so excited. You might see that on a card soon because I am going to use that. So let's make some space at the side. We're going to do 2 effects here. We're going to do 2 effects. So 2 techniques in one, so it's a bit of a bonus. So a little bit for the top, little bit for the bottom, but I am only going to do this with one colour, which is the olive, yeah? So if I mix in some of the olive powder, oh, not that much. Hang on, let me just scoop that up. I should have known better. Should have known better. Hang on, I can't save that, so I'm just gonna wipe it up. I can't save it. Forgive me. Forgive me. Let's see if we can make that work. So not that much. If anybody's watching me for the first time, I apologise. But at least you know I'm human. Let's mix this in. There we go. All is not lost, just a little bit of powder. So I'm mixing this in now, a little bit of powder. You certainly don't need half a pot full like I've just thrown at it. Oh, I just know you're all going to be laughing at me now. but it is fun. So I've mixed it in, look. So just remember when you're mixing in the luster powders with the paste to make sure you've mixed it really well, because any lumps of powder that are not mixed in with the paste will show through when it's dried. So with that should be fine. So I'm just going to do the top half. Oh, that's worked out actually quite well. So remember, long strokes, not lots of little ones. And then this bit that's left over, I'm going to show you another technique. Trust it to be towards the end of the video as well, because if it was the beginning, I would have stopped that video and started again. So now we've got this lovely olive colour here that we know is going to dry like stained glass. So in with the normal texture medium, the luster powder, the mica that's in there will be enhanced by the texture medium, and this will be like a mica pearlescent stained glass. Okay, I'm going to take that off and we're going to go to the bottom. I'm just going to overlap, so don't shout at me. I want to show you another technique. I'm going to take a little bit of the gesso. So this is the white gesso, and we're going to change the consistency of this paste again. There are just I could really do a video with 1,000 techniques with stencils. We've not even talked about embossing them through your machines or anything yet. So we're going to create another shade of this. Yeah. So can you see, look, we've now got a lighter shade. Just make sure it's mixed well. And the gesso is now going to negate the pearlescent shimmer from the luster powders. So we've now got a lovely soft jade colour that will dry with the same effect as the chalk paints, because the gesso has chalk content, so it's negated the... It's a shame to waste that, but there you go. It's negated the effect from the luster powders. So obviously ignore the middle bit, that's just where I overlapped. But can you see, look, we've got that lovely jade at the top, the lovely olive, and now we've got this beautiful soft sage colour at the bottom. I'm going to pop that there for a minute. I am going to clean my stencil because I don't want that to dry. And then I'm going to bring in the black, the ones that we did at the beginning, because they are now dry. Just remember to clean your stencils, or at least have them in a bucket of warm soapy water. And if you're still laughing at my powder mishap, I don't blame you. Happens to everybody, I'm sure. I should have known better, and I should have took it out with a spatula, but there you go. Right, so that's lovely and clean. This can get thrown in my paint pot. This can be cleaned up. The luster powders are another one of those really versatile products that you can do a lot with. And if you've seen me use them before, I may do a video just on the luster powders at some point. But if you've seen me use them before, if you've seen me use them on TV, you will have seen me use them and show you how to create your own misters. So you can make your own pearlescent mica-based misters. You just need the empty mister pots that we've got on the website. Right. I'm laughing, but internally I'm not. So make sure the lids are on everything. I'll do a quick recap before we finish. This video has now ended up being an hour. So here we go. Here's the black. So this is the beautiful fanfare stencil on the black card with the glitter at the bottom, look. I'm just plain texture medium on black card is just super classy. And this effect you will get on any coloured cardstock. So it shows up more on dark card and craft card, for example. But that's just literally neat texture medium. Then we've got the glitter on the bottom one as well. So we've got two different effects from that. We then did this is all dry now as well, look. So we then did the metallic paints stippled through, and then we did the negative. So the reverse stenciling with the metallic paint. So that's two different effects again. We then did, where is it? Let's just show you this again. So we then did the normal stenciling, extending a design. So you literally just line it up as you go along. We did the reverse stenciling where we went into the gaps with the reverse of the stencil. Then we used the waste that was left over. So this is all from one lot really, one technique, where we've got the negative stencil in there. This was the extra paint, as you remember, that was left over from there. We then moved on to, oh, this is so beautiful. So this is now dry, look, this is completely dry. But if I just show you, so when we did this one, remember, this was with the chalk paints, this with warm cerise and soft pistachio. And we mixed this with the original texture medium. So the original texture medium, as we know, is super glossy like this. If you mix it with the chalk paints, look how much it dulls it down. So we've got a much more subtle sheen. Oh, it's just so beautiful. So it's like a matte finish. So that is regular with glitter, metallic paints, negative stenciling, chalk paints mixed with regular texture medium to negate the sheen from the texture medium. We then moved on to, this is dry already. Oh, that's fabulous. I love this so much. This was a happy accident. So this was the gritty texture medium. And if you haven't got this, remember, I'm just going to say it's really fine grit. You can't really tell. We added more of the white texture sand to create this amazing texture. And this is completely bone dry, which is fabulous. This was the misted. This was the waste from this, misted and then brushed through. So this is, again, you've still got the texture in there, but it's flatter. Look how many different things we've done today. I've not even scratched the surface. And this was me trying to do the negative reverse stenciling from the sandy, gritty texture medium that didn't work. But in actual fact, look at this fabulous texture. How awesome is that as a bonus, as a freebie? You can actually hear it. That's awesome. And then just to finish off, this is probably not going to be dry enough yet. Oh, it might be. So this was the luster powders mixed in with the original texture medium. It's not quite dry, but you can see that we've got that lovely golden sheen coming through from the luster powders. And then at the bottom is where we changed the colour with white gesso. So this is actually the same colour, but we added a little bit of white gesso and created a new colour, and that has no mica in it. So no pearlescent sheen. And there you go. So I'm going to stop there because I'm at 55 minutes. I knew this wasn't going to be a quick one, but I did only expect it to be about half an hour. But that's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11. That's 11 different. Well, actually, no, it's not. That's a lie. 12, 13, 14. That's 14 different techniques with stencils in one 54-minute video. So I hope you've enjoyed that. I will put a link in the description for the white texture stand because I know people are going to go mad for it once I tell people publicly that it's all available. So treat yourself, have a go at stenciling, do not be scared. You saw me just throw half a pot of luster powder at the table, but it doesn't matter. You can just clean it up and start again. Just have fun with your stencils. So I hope you've enjoyed that. And I know you'll be having a laugh at my expense, which is absolutely fine. I don't mind. But I hope you've learned something, which is why I do the Technique Tuesday videos. So remember, as always, if you haven't subscribed to the channel, please do so. And click the notification bell, because I am live every Monday evening on YouTube. And also in our Facebook group, which is... just search on Facebook for Crafting with Phill Martin and Sentimentally Yours, and then you can ask to join our group. You do need to answer the membership questions upon request, otherwise the system automatically refuses the application. So there you go, everybody. I hope you've enjoyed that, and I've shown you a few different techniques. I haven't scratched the surface, so there may be a part 2 to this. The stenciling one at some point, but I've got a list of things that I'm working my way through. So this was episode 5, and this was your stenciling and reverse stenciling or negative stenciling Technique Tuesday. So thanks very much, everybody. Have a good day. Bye.